Now, here's what's going to happen. All I want you to do is act white. You white folks know how to act white. You've been doing it all your lives. You know how to act white?
I think so, yeah.
Sure you do. You know how to act white? You know how to act white?
Not really.
Well, can you when you have to?
Just look down your nose at everyone.
Can you? Can you when you have to?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Do you know how to act white?
Of course.
Oh, sure you do. You know you do, and I know you do.
With 2 volunteers gone, Jane Elliot seems to have quelled the brown-eyed dissent. But back in the 60s, when she divided her original school class, she was shocked by how readily the brown-eyed group took to their superiority.
What happened, John?
Russell called me names and I hit him in the gut.
She was even more alarmed by the blue-eyed group. They gave up. Their heads went down. They underperformed. Jane Elliot felt she had seen the world in microcosm. Her exercise showed what racism was, an immoral and irrational social construct that people were far too quick to sign up to. Since then, she's put adults all over the world through her exercise, and her approach has become more confrontational.
You're either my way or the highway. Do it my way or get out of here.
Nice way.
Out of here. What have you just learned?
Now, Jane Elliot directs the full force of her confrontational tactics towards her prime targets, the blue-eyed group.
Now, whether or not I like them, we're going to let these people in here. And you're going to see to it that they understand that we have created a situation for them to learn, that we did this for their own good. And how should they feel about that?
Thankful.
Grateful. And if they aren't grateful, what does that prove about them? They're ignorant, they're ingrates. No matter what you do for them, it isn't enough. That's just the way these people are.
The Blues have now been waiting in the holding room for 2 hours.
Time to go then.
About bloody time too.
They're about to discover what it's like to be on the receiving end of Jane Elliot's dictatorial regime.
If one of these boys tries to come at me, what are you going to do?
Protect you.
Protect me, thank you very much. Change places with her.
So what do you think's going to happen when the Blues come in now? Quick predictions.
I think the Blues are going to stick together.
I do agree with Dominic, they will stick together. I think one person will probably leave.
Get in here and sit down. They look very intelligent to you? Look very aware? Look very interested? Get up here and sit down. Get up here and sit down. Get up here. You're not sitting in the brown-eyed group. Get up here and sit down. You're not sitting in the brown-eyed group. Get up here and sit down.
My initial reaction was, we're into a them and us situation. I spotted immediately that the group of the brown-eyed people were looking very aggressively at us. They were looking very negatively at us, and I knew immediately that we were in for it.
Get up here and sit down. You're not sitting in the brown-eyed group. Get up here and sit down. Now, if you'll look behind you, you'll see that most of these chairs... Don't move for her. Get out of there.
Jane Elliot now begins to make life very difficult for the Blues.
Do you have a physical problem that will be made worse by sitting on the floor for an extended period of time?
Possibly, but I think I'll be okay.
Possibly, but she thinks she'll be okay. If we find out later that she isn't okay, who's she going to blame it on?
Us?
Us. So am I going to take that answer?
No.
No. Do you or do you not?
I do.
Was she lying before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, she said possibly, but I think it'll be okay. Did she lie to us?
Yes.
What do you know about blue-eyed people?
Liars.
You find that amusing. Don't laugh at her. She makes you look real bad.
The Blues will be put through a series of classroom exercises, basic, even childlike in their simplicity. Jane Elliot has used these over the years with dramatic effect.
Oh.
Her mission is to grind down the Blue Eyes.
You know what a redundancy is? What?
They give you money and you leave your job.
They give you money and you leave the job.
Once they're feeling downtrodden, what they learn from this can be a real revelation.
Who's responsible for you being on the hot seat right now?
I am.
Thank you very much. Now, does that teach you something?
That I have to listen to you.
Is that all?
And I have to conform to the way you want me to be and not how I am.
Yeah. Does that teach you something?
That I'm insignificant.
Yeah. Does that teach you something?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that teach you?
I'm worthless.
What does that teach you? If I can convince you that you're worthless in 45 minutes, what could I do if I did this with you for 30 years?
You could take away my self-being and who I am.
But in Britain in 2009, the Blues start to fight back.
Getting right along. You do understand, you understand then that you understand that you are being discriminated against. Yes. Do you understand that you're being discriminated against?
Downright rude.
Do you understand that you aren't liking what you're having?
Yes.
You need to know that that's not important to me. What's important to me is every time you argue, you prove that what I said about you is true. That you're argumentative, that you're belligerent, that you're uncooperative, that you're uncivilized, that you don't follow the rules, that you want to have things your own way, that you are accustomed to using power, and that you don't understand.
You're using your power.
Do you understand what's going on here? Yes. Tell them what's going on here. And the tall white male.
Basically, it's a lot of people are totally unaware that discrimination goes on as much as it does.
Hey, what I want to know what happens when it happens. When it happened to you the last time, what happened?
Wait. No. You don't have to answer that question.
Yes, you do. Say what you want to say.
You don't have to answer that question.
Say what you want to say. Don't
when
listen
it
to
happens out there in the real world, people make a
question.
stand. It's against the law and people make a stand. Now I'm making a stand. Enough.
And guess how much attention I'm going to pay to that.
You have a free choice. You have a free choice.
No.
Who wants to listen to David speak? Don't listen to her. Speak.
She is not running this show. Take her out of here. Take her out of here.
Fine. Don't listen to her.
I understand what you're doing. I'm just saying I don't understand why. I've spent the morning with these people and none of them are racists.
Just because my skin isn't black, I mean, I'm you probably noticed, a little bit tubby. I've been discriminated. Yeah, I am. I've been discriminated with that all my life. I still put up with it. I face it. I go into shops and see a nice shirt. Oh dear, they don't do my size. Oh well, I'll have to put up with it, won't I?
You can lose your tubby.
But you can't
change the colour of your skin.
Unfortunately, there's a small minority that will use the word racism. They bandy it around when it's not. Let's use the word political correctness. You're not allowed to use the word gollywog anymore.
See,
to me, it's not offensive to you. I don't bar black shit. What's that about?
What's strange is that you've got the blue-eyed people actually sort of arguing that racism isn't a problem.
Yeah, the blue-eyed people are defending the system. They're saying, you know, we all have to suffer. It's difficult for all of us. You know, the guy's saying, well, I can't get the right size shirts. You know, this kind of thing. And they're still not recognising the difference in the scale of what's being experienced by minority groups as opposed to what most people in society are putting up with, which are minor inconveniences by comparison.
So I'm sensing, do people really understand what is racism? The group of the Blue Eyes are white people. They're living in their world. So we're asking them to live in a world of what it's like to be black or Asian, which is quite difficult to do in 2 hours. So in their minds, it's like, well, racism doesn't exist, because it doesn't exist to them.
Jane Elliot has carried out her controversial exercise all over the world. But here in Britain, she's met stubborn resistance.
I'm not going with all this crack you're putting out. I'm sorry.
That's up to you.
When I came here, racism, oppression was wrong. When I leave here, I will still think that.
In the blue-eyed group, the all-white volunteers are refusing to accept the exercise has anything to teach them, while the majority brown-eyed group are watching on, reluctant to speak out. Do you think this is going to plan? Is this how it's supposed to be?
I don't think it's going quite according to plan, in the sense that usually by this point you'd expect the blue eyes to be more crestfallen, and you might expect the brown eyes to be getting more energised about criticising them.
The Browns aren't joining in a lot, though, are they?
No. And I think that probably represents which country you're doing this exercise in. Whereas America, there is a strong divide, or Australia or South Africa. And this country is more subtle. So even though they may have an opinion, they're sort of keeping it quiet to themselves.
Do you get angry about racism?
No.
You don't?
No. I was brought up by my mum, who's white, grandma who's white, my auntie who's white, my cousin who's white. I mean, my family is white. So the only thing that isn't white is my appearance, in terms of my mannerisms and everything else. So I play the game, and part of my playing the game is avoiding the situations where somebody could have a negative stereotype of me based on my name, what I look like. And I think that's it, because once somebody sits down and have a conversation with me, they realise I'm not the things that potentially their stereotypes would dictate I should be like.
Jane Elliot now introduces a setup designed to force any reluctant volunteers to finally step into the fray.
You, stand up here beside me. Yeah. You, right here. I wanted you, nice blue-eyed white people, to find out how it feels to be on the receiving end of that which we allow to be handed out to whole groups of people every day. You don't live what she lives with.
And you can't argue with somebody's experience.
No.
If you don't see the other person's reality, then you don't face that reality, you're almost part of the problem, because you don't see any reason for change it. Change what? Change what?
In the UK, the racism, it's very subtle. It's very subtle. It's standing in a queue, waiting to be served, and the lady at the desk or the reception serves the person behind you, or the white family that's just walked in through the door, or my son running for the bus and getting stopped by the police. Why are you running? I'm running for the bus.
Her child learns something like this every time he walks down the goddamn street.
Stop and search.
And in the United States of America.
Any kid stop and search because there's a knife problem at the moment.
8 times
Any
more
child.
likely to be stopped and searched
But
as a black boy.
But you keep saying statistics. I'm sorry, statistics.
That's how it is. It's the way it is.
Everywhere, all teenagers out at night.
It's a statistics show.
The police will stop them and look for knives. It doesn't
You are
matter
8
what colour
times
their skin
more
is.
likely to be stopped
One of my
and
best
searched.
friends is a local Bobby on
You're
the
not hearing me.
Denying the
hearing
facts.
you, but you feel you're
And now you're
unique.
getting defensive.
You are not unique.
You're still not hearing the point. You're not
I'm
hearing the
totally
point.
hearing the point. What I'd like to hear more is what you propose to do to actually change all this.
Oh, wait a minute.
Let's get on to
Oh,
that
wait a
later.
minute. Oh,
How
wait a
are we
minute.
going to change it?
Oh,
What will we
good.
do?
I'm so glad you asked that. I'm so glad you asked that.
I'm bored with this bit now. I'm ready for a tea break and I
What
want
you're
to
doing,
move on.
what you're doing is blaming the victim.
What victim?
What you're doing is blaming the victim. You're
the victim?
saying,
Where's the victim?
You're saying to her, what are you going to do to change this?
What are you going to do?
She doesn't have the
I
power
just said,
to change
what
this.
are we?
No,
us
you
going to
did
do?
not.
I did. No,
What
I'm
did she
sorry,
say?
you weren't listening.
What's actually going on here?
This is a lot what happens in society, where people are just in so much denial that they feel, well, you sort it out, it's your problem, when it's actually all of our problem.
I think the people who are actually learning a lot here is the people in the brown group, because they're learning about how impenetrable this is for white people, for majority people, that they cannot get it. They cannot get this difference of perspective. It's really tough for them. They either don't want to accept there is discrimination, or they don't see the discrimination, or they don't understand what it is when they do see it.
Is to manipulate it.
As the disagreement escalates, one of the more cautious volunteers finally steps forward.
I don't think we are in denial. I think you want us desperately to be in denial, but most
Stump. I have a daughter that lives, not with me, obviously, but she lives in a very middle-class area, a very rural area, and she is the only non-white in her school. I will not go and pick her up from school because of my belief of other parents' perceptions of my daughter because her father looks like I do. Now, you can frown as if to say, well, why? But the bottom line is, after 34 years of my life in this country, that's how I feel.
That's so sad.
It is so...
Yeah?
I feel sad.
OK, now another reality of it, and ask any of my friends, is I talk in terms of I play the game. OK? If you speak to me on the phone, you will have zero idea of what I look like. You either conform, in which case you get an easy life, or you fight against it and you'll end up criminalised, outcast and removed from the situation.
But Marvin, what you've said, I agree with, but it's not colour. You could be a skinhead and not want to pick your kid up from school. You can be a cockney.
The skinhead can let his hair grow. I'm talking wholly and exclusively based on the colour of my skin, nothing else. Just to qualify the thing about the school, part of the reason I don't go to the school is because, I mean, I'm mixed race, so I'm only half caste. My daughter has got a white mother, which means she's even lighter than me. Therefore, I believe that most, if not all, of the people at that school think she's white. If I turn up, then the children will see a different...
And treat her differently.
And again, it's not necessarily because these kids are ignorant, it's because these kids live in an environment that's wholly of white people. I chose to play the game.
That's right.
That's it.
We have to play the game. There is this game we have to play to get by.
Play the game as well. My ex-husband, for example, is in the sporting environment. He's taking on top quality customers, the RAF, people like that. But he conforms. He has to wear a business suit. He has to wear a tie. He has to speak beautifully. He has his short back and side haircut. He looks immaculately groomed. He's actually a rugby player from way back. He's happy wearing sloppy old jumpers.
Is he white?
He used to have his hair longer.
Is he white?
We have to conform as well.
Is he white?
That's not
conforming. You're talking about conforming. He would conform to pick up my daughter from her school. He would not turn up looking like a scruff bag with long hair, bad clothes, bad breath, unwashed, bad shoes.
Isn't that pride, though?
No, it's exactly the same. You're talking about your school environment with your daughter, my school environment with my daughter.
Would we all agree that it's not the same?
They would
It's not the same. It's not the same.
It is. Sorry.
Yes.
Maybe
yes.
to a lesser degree.
Let's agree. Let's agree to disagree.